Two Against Tyre. Two Against Tyre is a story based on an unpublished story featuring Eithriall the Gaul, one of the lesser-known characters created by Robert East. Howard. The story celebrated the pageantry of medieval knighthood, the exoticism of the Orient, the ferocity of the invaders from the steppes, the mysteries of the seraglio, and the rise and fall of great dynasties. It was adapted by Marvel Comics into the Conan the Barbarian comics episode 2 Against Turan, with major changes in the storyline. Original story. A Two Against Tyre is a historical fiction adventure story featuring Eithriall the Gaul. Howard. It is set in the Phoenician city of Tyre at the height of its commercial and political power at the time of an Assyrian king named Shalmaneser. Of the 5 known kings of that name, the date in the story fits either Shalmaneser Roman 3859-824 BC or Shalmaneser v 727-722 BC, both of them powerful warrior kings with vast imperial ambitions, who both feature prominently in the Old Testament. Howard enthusiast Glenn Lord published a version of Two Against Tyre in the issue #12 Spring 1970 of his magazine The Howard Collector. Lord also included it in the 1979 book, also named The Howard Collector, published by Ace Books, and including the best of the material published during the magazine's 1961-1973 existence. It was printed in 1975 by the publisher Dennis McKinney in a limited chapbook edition. McKinney's other booklet that year, Two Against Tyre, consisted of 900 unnumbered copies and 600 numbered copies on deluxe paper, using the title of the short story as the title of the book and leave material in a collection of other REH material. The Zebra Books Bickley second book of Robert East Howard also included versions of this short story. Altogether, the story has been published in the following ways. 1. The Howard Collector magazine #12 Glenn Lord, Spring 1917. 2. Two Against Tyre, Dennis McKinney, 1975. 3. The second book of Robert East Howard, Zebra Books, May 1976. 4. The Howard Collector book, Ace Books, April 1979. 5. The second book of Robert East Howard, Berkeley, March 1980. 6. Lord of Samarkand and Other Adventure Tales of the Old Orient, Bison Books, App. Conan version comics. Conan version comics. The non-Conan story Two Against Tyre was adapted for Marvel Comics publication into the Conan story Two Against Turan, published in Marvel's Conan the Barbarian Comics #29, August 1973. It was written from a script by Roy Thomas and pencils by John Bossamer, inks by Ernie Chen and Arnie Chua. In this version it featured an early segment in the adventures of the Cimmerian hero at the start of Conan's long and highly ambiguous relationship with the powerful Eastern Kingdom of Turan. Robert East. Howard is, of course, immediately associated with Conan the Barbarian, but he was a popular pulp writer in many genres. Many volumes collect a large portion of his other works, for example, westerns and fight stories, as well as his lesser-known sword and sorcery adventures. To fulfill the need for original Conan adventures based on original Howard material, many such published and unpublished Howard stories were adapted as Conan yarns, either stories or comics written by various other writers to fit plausibly into the known career of Conan. Eithriall the Gaul was especially suited to be transformed into Conan, as the two are virtually identical in physical and mental abilities and basic attitude to life, and in the specific situation of a barbarian finding his way in a supposedly civilized city. Like Conan, Eithriall even repeatedly uses the name of the god Crom as an expletive. The only clear difference is that Eithriall is blonde-haired while Conan's hair is black. Howard regarded Conan's Cimmerians as ancestors of the Celts, which include the Gauls. It would fit Howard's general scheme to consider Eithriall a remote descendant, or a later reincarnation, of Conan. However, the transformation of Two Against Tyre into Two Against Turan was not limited to changing names and backgrounds. The Marvel Comics adapters took up the first part of the Howard storyline, but then led it in a completely different direction, adding a strong element of sorcery absent from the original Howard story, which is pure historical fiction. Even the meaning of the title was reversed. Two Against Tyre referred to the protagonist Eithriall and a comrade in arms which he finds in the city, while Two Against Turan refers to two enemies of Turan whom Conan defeats. Publication details: Two Against Turan, adapted from Robert East. Howard's Two Against Tyre. Publisher, Marvel Comics Conan the Barbarian, Vol 129 by Marvel. Credits: John Bossamer, artist Ernie Chanaka, Ernie Chia, inker John Costanza, letter Glynis Oliver / Glynis Wyan, colorist Roy Thomas, editor Robert East. Howard, writer original Roy Thomas, writer comics adaptation. Plot summary: Two Against Tyre. Plot summary: Two Against Tyre. Eithriall the Gaul has arrived in Tyre, known as the world's richest capital, partly seeking adventure and fortune, partly in search of a man named Shamash, apparently an Assyrian who had done him an unspecific wrong and on whom he seeks revenge. Even in cosmopolitan Tyre, Eithriall attracts attention as a particularly outlandish barbarian. witnessing what seems a funeral procession with hundreds of women crying that Tammuz is dead. Eithriall, unfamiliar with the Phoenician cult of the dead and reborn god Tammuz/Adonis, asks an innocent question which is misunderstood as mocking the god, setting the mob afire. The Gaul fights back the bloodthirsty crowd, but is nearly overwhelmed when given timely refuge by a man calling himself Ormaxes the Mede. Eithriall feels an immediate kinship with this man, seeing in him a fellow barbarian, though one much more familiar with Tyrian civilization. Sitting together in an inn, Ormaxes explains the political situation. Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, already rules the world's biggest empire, but he seeks to expand further westwards. The princes of Syria are banding together to block the Assyrian expansion into their territory. This is of great interest to Eithriall, who thinks of enlisting as a mercenary with one of these princes, but before he could ask further, soldiers of the king of Tyre burst in, seeking to arrest Ormaxes, whom they call Camry. The two fight back to back, but are overwhelmed. Eithriall is stunned and left for dead. He wakes in a room with a group of men, one of whom is tending his wounds. Their leader cures a rich Tyrian merchant, explains that he is a friend of Camry, and asks Eithriall to help free him from the king's dungeons. Eithriall immediately agrees, since Ormaxes/Camry had saved his own life. It turns out that Camry is an agent of the anti-Assyrian coalition. The king of Tyre, an Assyrian ally, intends to turn him over to Shalmaneser, who would flay him alive. Heroes head a secret anti-Assyrian faction in Tyre, though he cannot act openly. The escape has successfully affected some of the guards who are bribed, and Eithriall fights and kills those who remain. Camry is freed in the nick of time, just before the Assyrian king's men were to take him. A boat arranged by Cures takes them out of the island city of Tyre. Before their departure, Cures and Camry make two agreements, a political one after the anti-Assyrian coalition wins. There will be no retaliation against Tyre for its king's support of the Assyrians, and also a personal commercial agreement. Camry will buy from Cures cedar wood, lapis lazuli, and precious stones. Cures addresses Camry as my lord and treats him with great deference. Obviously, he is a far more important person than Eithriall or the reader realized. Camry and Eithriall then ride eastwards to further adventures, which Howard never got around to writing. Had Howard written a sequel, Eithriall would have likely found himself involved in the crucial Battle of Kokar 853 BC, where the valiant rulers of western Syria, among them King Ahab of Old Testament fame, did halt the Assyrian imperial advance, at least for one generation. Though at a later time the Assyrians, led by a later Shalmaneser, came back in an overwhelming strength. Plot summary: Two Against Turan. Plot summary: Two Against Turan. Conan of Samaria has made it to Agrippa, capital of Turan. He witnesses a procession of the idol of the Turim, honoured god among Turanians, and blunders when he mocks the god, setting the mob afire. The Cimmerian fights back the bloodthirsty crowd and is given timely refuge by Eithriall, or is it Ormaxes? They are set upon by soldiers of King Yildiz. Eithriall is captured and Conan left for dead. When Conan awakes, a hooded man tends his wounds and feeds him, requesting that Conan help rescue Eithriall. This Conan does, returning him to the hooded man. The man removes the hood to unveil that he is identical to Eithriall, in fact, that Eithriall is a wizard, and the two are separated halves of each other, who must reunite or perish. Conan learns that, once reunited, the wizard will be a dark force pledged to crushing all of Turan. Conan ends the threat before it is unstoppable by throwing a dagger into the jewel that is used to murder Eithriall together with Ormaxes. The two burst into flames and end any future plans of crushing Turan for all time. Turan soldiers enter into the house, seeing the Cimmerian standing in front of piles of smouldering ashes. In consideration of this, Conan is offered a place with the Turanian army's special units. As readers of the Conan saga know, in later parts of his career Conan will become a staunch enemy of Turan and lead various forces of robbers and marauders against its outposts and commerce, on both land and sea, narrated in such stories as The Devil in Iron.